Welcome to the MoonBound podcast. I'm Julia, and I'd like to welcome you to my kitchen. First, I want to talk about why I am making this podcast and why I wanted to be a part of this community. I love knitting and spinning and crochet and weaving and really anything that is fibery at all. So I also really liked the sense of belonging and togetherness that I found in watching other people's podcasts. It really feels like everyone is just kind of in this really elaborate coffee clutch, crafting together and talking about their projects and their hopes and what they're planning for their lives and their families. And I wanted to be a part of that. So I have decided to start this, and I hope that you enjoy it. A little bit about myself. I live in Waukesha, Wisconsin with my husband and my 4 children and our cat. And maybe you can hear him meowing in the background. I have been spinning for about 6 years now, knitting for about 8. I picked up crocheting somewhere in there, and I've been weaving for about 2 years. I felt I dye, I sell my yarn and other crafts whenever I get a chance. And I have an Etsy shop and do craft shows. My Etsy shop is MoonBound Artisanship. And I sell my work and my father's work. He's a woodworking artist. And I am pleased to announce my mother-in-law's work. This mug was my Christmas present from my mother-in-law. I kind of think it totally could have been served to something that I would get served in at the Green Dragon Inn in Tolkien. I'm drinking a blueberry green tea this afternoon, if anyone cares. So let's get into what I've been working on. I don't have any finished objects to show because I have finished absolutely no knitting in 2017. But I do have some projects. So I decided to do some stash busting, and I went through my yarn. I inventoried it all, and I found a ball of this. And this I have discovered through some mystery, because it didn't have a band at the time, is Patton's Croy socks in the Cascade colorway. And I have 2 socks here that I'm working on. And this is Mina Phillips's vanilla socks pattern. And I'm going to do a gray toe and heel in that. I am also working on a sweater for myself. Yarn wool by my mother-in-law. Not a Christmas present, an experiment. And this is the beginnings, although I've been working on this off and on for 2 years. You know how it is with sweaters for yourself. They always get set aside and put off to the last minute. This is the Gyra cardigan from Interweaves Knits 2014. And it's the spring episode, and that is when I started it. This is on a 9. Part of my problem was I started it, I gauged it, I did the whole thing, everything we're supposed to do, and it ended up being really small. I somehow started on the wrong needle, even after doing the gauge. Started 2 needle sizes too low. So I've added an extra repeat of the first ribbing pattern because I really liked how it looked and didn't want to start over. I know I should have frogged it, but I didn't. My third project, which actually is kind of a sad project, is a percentage sweater, Elizabeth Zimmerman, for my son. And the key is 26, and the needle sizes are 4. I use knit picks primarily. And this sweater is eventually going to have some Pikachu Pokemon in it. I've already put them in once and taken them out. The yarn is something I found in a thrift store. It is Junghans Wool. It's a German company. They are still in business. They don't have anything on their website to lead me to believe that this is even remotely current. But I managed to get 8 balls of it for 79 cents a piece. So it's 100% wool. It's a little rough. Not entirely certain what the breed is, but there's that. Oh, my socks are 75-25 superwash merino nylon, and the wool and the sweater is organic cotton and milk protein fiber, and it is really soft. It is super fun to knit, except that it's double twisted rib, so it's kind of tedious. It doesn't leave the house very often. And I think that is it for my works in progress as far as knitting goes. I'm going to show you my acquisitions in doing the interview, or the inventory rather, of all of my yarn. I discovered that several sock yarns didn't have buddies, so I wouldn't be able to make a full pair of socks on them. So I went out in search of them, and I found 2 discontinued yarns on Etsy, and this is one of them. And this is a cotton wool nylon elastic blend, and it's squishy and it's stretchy, and we'll see. I'm also going to do gray heels and toes with that for that one. This is the gray I picked up, kind of hoping to match all 3 of them. And this is Debbie Norval's Serenity Sock Weight collection. So it's a superwash merino rayon from bamboo and nylon blend. And then the other match to what I had in my collection is this Red Heart Heart and Soul with aloe. I'm not really certain how these ended up in my inventory because these are not really my colors. And welcome back to my kitchen. There was a little technical difficulty with the first segment of, or actually with the second segment of my podcast last week. I started on Thursday, right during lunch, and my son and his friend had come home for lunch, which was kind of a surprise. And then they went downstairs, and I thought everything would be fine, and I tried to squeeze in the taping just like I had had everything set up, and they suddenly came back up, which is right about when we left. And then I talked to them for a little while, restarted the video, restarted the audio, and continued chatting with you. And then I immediately made what is going to be the next video in the series. And then the next morning I got up and I went to my spinning guild, and later that day I sat down to do the video editing, and I didn't have the second half of this video. So I am reshooting it. There are some difficulties with reshooting it because what I'm about to show you, I originally showed you as a not finished project, and now it is done. And I had initially showed you a full box for the mystery spin, and I can't do that anymore because I've taken it out and started it. So we're just going to talk about those things, and hopefully I will get better at doing this and knowing when my camera's on. There's no light or anything for me to be able to tell if I'm actually recording. I did see a neat trick on the Crafternoon Treats podcast, and she uses a small mirror behind her camera to reflect what's on the camera screen, so she knows what's going on. So I'm going to see if I can't find myself a mirror and do it like that. So what is on my wheel right now, or what was on my wheel when I started this broadcast, was this wool. This is Montdale, and I like to pick up any random braid I find that I haven't spun before, so that I can experience each different sheep's characteristics, type of sheep's characteristics. And what I usually do is I try to pick up an ounce or two, and then I spin it up the way it seems to want to work. So this was spinning very, very fine. This is chain plied. This is, so it's 3-ply, and it's about a DK weight. I haven't done the math on it. But it is very soft, very squishy. It is not really a smooth fiber, so it's not too bad on the face, but I don't know if I would want it right against my collar for the entire day. But I'm very pleased with it. I have, in doing this, come up with a project. Mostly what I'm doing is gaining the experience. I'm writing down notes for myself on how I like the breed, how it spins up, what its characteristics are. I also take notes if I don't particularly care for it. If it's something that I wouldn't necessarily like to spin, or if I would spin it but would maybe charge more for a skein of yarn done that way. And when I'm done, I knit myself up a little swatch, and then I have whatever's left. My husband and I have this little persistent dream of a cabin in the woods, And so 2 years ago, we bought ourselves the woods. And we're hoping to eventually put the cabin there. And we've got property right on a river. And he and the kids and I go up there as often as we can. So in the future, some of our videos may be shot up there. And the kids go kayaking and swimming. And we kind of sit there and dream about where we're going to put our little cabin. And hopefully someday we'll have it, and someday we'll be able to go up there even more often. It's a little bit of difficulty to camp all the time with 6 people in your family and carrying all that stuff in, and then having to pack it out again Sunday night. So we're hoping that we can have a little cabin and be able to not have to haul everything that a family of 6 needs to survive for a weekend. But one of the things I really like about it and about being up there is how relaxed and free everyone is. My husband has kind of a stressful job, and we both have lots of responsibilities with the lives that we've chosen in our families and the activities that our kids are involved in. And when we're at home, day to day, it's kind of go, go, go. And when we go up there, all of that weight and that stress just falls off of everyone. And we sit there and we are completely unplugged. The kids aren't allowed to bring electronics. I usually have my phone with me, although I don't get enough service to do anything with it other than take pictures. And the kids read and they play in the woods and they play nicely with each other, and it's really idyllic. And so that's what our dreams are. And one of the things that I'm doing with this spinning project, seems like I kind of got off track there, but I didn't. One of the things I'm doing with this spinning project is, as I collect different breed samples, I'm making what I'm viewing as quilt squares, log cabin quilts. So I have various different breeds in here. This is Tunis, and this is Navajo Shiro, and this is Cormo, and this is Wensleydale, and we have Falkland and Rambouillet, and Corriedale is the blue center. And so I'm using up all my little bits of breed study. This is, I think, almost a mirror image of that. It's not quite the exact color layout. Making these little squares, and eventually I will put them all together. But as I get new ones, I incorporate them in. I have occasionally gotten wool that was too scratchy, it was too rough. And so I'm also making the cabin a little welcome mat. And this actually, you can't quite tell, but it has 3 different sheep breeds in here, and I don't off the top of my head remember exactly what breeds they are. This is on a size 3 needle, so it's very stiffly knit for a good solid welcome mat, but it is also a real stiff, firm wool. All of these kind of hurt to spin, and I probably would not ever spin them again. I know that at least one of them is caracol, which is usually used in rugs or mattresses. So what I intended to show you last week as my finished product is this skein of yarn, which is brown sheep wool, and I have dyed it myself. It's kettle dyed with acid-based dyes, and then I spun it thick thin, and it is super squishy and super soft. This is about 2 ounces. I have about 2 more ounces left of dyed material that I could make a second skein with. This is 66 yards, and it would be a bulky ply. I am drinking Yorkshire tea, which a friend told me about last week, and is really, really good. I'm very surprised. Like, normally when I think of plain tea, I don't think of it as being exciting, but this is really a good tasting tea. Other projects I'm working on, I bought my sister-in-law a pair of hand knit on a World War II knitting machine, sock knitting machine, socks for Christmas. Unfortunately, they were the wrong size. Not even close. And my parents bought me a pair, and they're a little smaller than the size they were marked, although my parents bought me the right size, and I bought my sister-in-law too small. I was guessing. You shouldn't do that with clothing. But then it occurred to me that one of the ladies in my spinning guild actually has one of these machines, and she's kind of in the process of retiring from her fiber business. She raised Angora bunnies, and As she and her husband are thinking about retiring, they decided to get rid of some of the bunnies. And so she's moving away from that phase of her life, but she's used to selling her stuff. And so I contacted her and asked her if she would be willing to sell me a pair of her socks so that my sister-in-law could get her birthday present, or her Christmas present rather. And she didn't have any that were the right size yet. And she tends to go for more brightly colored stuff than I was looking for. And so one of the things she suggested that I do is, she also is a machine knitter. She has knitting machines. Is that she would bring me a sock blank and I could dye it up for her. This is 2 strands at once. This is Corriedale, 75% Corriedale, 25% nylon. I could dye it for her in the color scheme that I wanted, bring it back to her, and she would use her machine to knit my sister-in-law a pair of socks, and then I'm going to buy the socks from her. So I'm really excited about that project. I'm actually kind of tempted to make a kids dye day and invite my sister-in-law and my nieces over and just dye a whole bunch of stuff that day. The acid dyes that I use are safe for children to work with once they're mixed into solution. And I would only be using them in solution then. I use Mother Mackenzie's Miracle Mix. So the other thing that I talked about in my failed video broadcast was this box. Now this box was, well, it contained a Christmas present for my sister. And in the box was a lovely mug from the University of Chicago where she's working now. Obviously not the one I'm drinking from. And right now it's empty. But I had been watching over the holidays Spin Weekly podcast with Grace Shalom Hopkins, and she had a special segment over Hanukkah where every day of Hanukkah she opened a box that she did not know what the contents were. She had selected 3 independent dyers' work, and then someone put the 1 bit of each of these fibers into the box for her. She had 8 boxes. She had to spin whatever was in the box into a cohesive yarn. And I really love her work. I like how she handles her videos. And I really thought that was an interesting idea, to just start with this set of rules of whatever is here, whatever the challenge is, I have to figure out a way to make it work. And so I've decided that I'm going to do it. I'm not going to do it every day, obviously. And I don't actually know how often I'm going to do it, but I so far have found that everyone I've talked to about it has found it very interesting. My children put together the first box for me. I gave them a bin of fiber, random stuff, and the rules were that it had to be 4 ounces. Taught them how to use the scale, and that if they included sparkle, they could only include 1 package of the sparkly cut fiber stuff. And that way I had enough to make it cohesively throughout the yarn, but I wasn't trying to just spin a yarn out of sparkly fiber, because I know my children and they might have tried that. That will be the next video, is watching me open the box, see what my children have done to me, and then how I'm going to prepare it and spin it off for you. I think the next time I do a mystery box, my best friend has asked to be the person who's putting the stuff in the box, and so we'll see what she does to me. So I think that is a good recap of, let me check my notes here, everything I wanted to talk about. I did receive a hat block for Christmas, so I'm going to be doing some more felting with hats and making some hats, so that should appear in future broadcasts. If you enjoyed today's show, if you enjoyed train wrecks, it would be really nice if you would comment below, if you would check out my next video and let me know what you think. Thank you very much.